So let me start this by going to Martin Breckbilt MMR for the build along of the Let Build Designs Maintenance of Way car. Martin, welcome.
Good evening, Jim and others. Let's figure out where I am here. That looks right. Oh, there you go, butter. There we are. Well, I think that's where we were. This is the 4th week, so this should be part 4. And being a whole week ago, I barely remember where I was, or where I am now for that matter. So we'll pick up where we were. Oh, there it is. We installed the sides and we're just beginning to add the rest of the exterior parts. It's good I made these slides so I'd know what I was doing. I could actually remember it a week later. So let's look at the outside of this thing. I didn't point this out last time. I actually put my reading glasses on so I can see what I'm looking at better. We got a bunch of dimples that are laser etched into the exterior. So this is nice. I mean, it tells you where things go. You've got dimples here for grab irons, but there's 2 sets of holes. The lower ones for the wire for the grab irons, the upper set are for nut bolt washer castings. And these are for your stirrup steps, more stirrup steps, more stirrup steps. Lots and lots and lots of holes over here for grab irons and NBW castings, your nut bolt and washers. So you're going to be drilling a lot of holes. And if you're going to be doing this with a pin vise, odds are you'll break at least 2 or 3 drill bits off. There's a lot of holes to drill. And I actually use a battery-powered Dremel, which may or may not be for everyone. Once again, I managed to drill all the holes without shedding any blood, so I know it can be done. A couple of things here. I say number 73 drill bit. That comes about because at this point in building the kit, I found out I didn't have any wire left to make the grab irons. So you're sort of on your own at this point. And I used a lot of 20 thousandths phosphor bronze wire from Tishi because I have it, but it's a very nice, easily formed wire. The other part of this is a bit of a conundrum, is that in the etched brass fretwork, there's supposed to be a bending jig. A bending jig being probably a hole and a little note that says bend here. I did not find such a thing on this kit. That may be on the HO fretwork for all I know. But no matter, it's not that critical. You know how far apart the wire has to be bent. It has to go in these 2 holes. Simple matter. So you're shaping the basic grab iron. It's a piece of wire. And I like to bend my wire so that one leg's longer than the other, because then you put one leg in one hole and that steadies it for you. It doesn't fall out. Then you can go grab the other end and shove it in the hole squarely, and it falls in nicely. Because if you try to put 2 pieces in the same length at the same time, odds are you're holding that with a hemostat, a pair of pliers, your fingers, you're also holding the car with the other hand, and you're trying to align 2 things with not enough hands or eyes. So it's a lot easier. Eliminate the degree of freedom invoked by sticking one end in. Now you've got it anchored. Then you can swing this other end around, drop it into the hole, and feed it in. The other reason I used a number 73 drill, it's a little larger than 20 thousandths. I don't really worry about getting a little bit bigger hole than the wire. I want it to go in fairly easily without fighting with it, because if you fight with it, you're going to bend the wire. So a little bit larger, and you got to leave a little bit of room for the glue to hold the wire in as well. So a little larger hole is not a problem. Okay, you don't want to make it 6 inches larger, but a couple of thousandths won't hurt. It's going to get filled up with your glue anyhow, and you won't notice it after it's painted. So it's not a worry. Tools for making grab irons. Well, I actually use a pair of sprue cutters as nippers when you get down to 20,000s. I don't even worry about it. Hemostat. If you don't have a hemostat on your workbench, there's probably something wrong with you by now. I probably have 20 of them of varying sizes, shapes, forms, curved ends, straight ends, short jaws, long jaws. A third of them have been damaged by soldering flux because I've had them for so long. But they are indispensable for that extra hand when you're holding something that you can barely see. It's a little piece of wire and you want to align it into 2 holes. Get yourself some hemostats, and get decent ones. There's lots of cheap junk ones out there. If you can get good ones, like next time you're at the dentist or the doctor's and they're throwing stuff away, have them throw it away into your pocket. They're just too useful otherwise. Flat-jawed pliers. Actually, this one's not as good as this one over here, and I'll show you in the next slide over. And here's the reason why. This one's got a taper, so you're not going to get a right angle bend. It's going to get twisted. This one over here is a straight pair of pliers. There's no teeth on the inside of it, and it's just about almost as wide as an O-scale grab iron, strangely enough. So serendipity smiles upon you if you find the right one. But these are, I don't know where you find one like this, because I think this one was my grandfather's, but God knows where he found it, probably at Fairchild Industries 50 years ago. But get a straight pair as opposed to a pair with a taper in it. Then you can get a nice right angle bend. And that's very critical for making your grab irons. It's useful for bending all kinds of things. You really have to be careful. I mean, it's straight back here, but if you try to bend it out here, it's not going to be a straight bend. Things are going to get twisted. So I've started putting some grab irons in. I put the corner braces we talked about last week in right where they go, because there's an etched dimple, outline where they go. And just as you think things are going to work perfectly, they stop working perfectly because the corner brace covers up the dimple for the other side of the stirrup step. So you have to get creative and drill new holes and pretend that hole isn't there anymore. After you put paint on it, it'll go away anyhow, generally. But you have to be prepared not to have both holes. Well, you just add an extra hole. And actually, you add 2 holes because the spacing is critical to getting things inserted properly. Back to the ends for a few minutes. Truss rod nut bolt washers. The instructions called for number 75 drill. There is no way in the world that these nut bolt washer castings were going to go into a hole from a 75 drill. I need a number 66. These are a lot bigger. So this is why a dial caliper that I recommended early on, I guess in the very first week, is a very useful tool to measure even the bolt of your nut bolt and washer casting, so you know which size drill to use as opposed to guessing. It's a really useful tool to have. And again, I probably drilled it a little bit big. I don't worry about it too much because the glue is going to fill the gap and it's going to hold it. It's better to do that than try to force it in, bend it over, break it off, or the worst thing possible, fly off into the space somewhere in your shop, never to be found again until you step on it in your bare feet. And yeah, you will feel that if even those little tiny pieces don't feel good. Not as bad as a Lego block, but not comfortable either. Okay, there's more dimples to drill. Gosh, they're everywhere. They breed. But you have dimples down here, except that's where the brake shaft and the base for it go. So you're not going to use those. You got to remember that. This end is your brake end. Stuff goes here. Stuff that's going to get in the way. You can't put a brake. You can't put that grab iron there. It will not wrap around. In fact, I think that we'll come back to another slide later. And in fact, the bottom brake stirrup is right on top of those 2 holes. Okay, here are your nut bolt washer castings for all those grab irons. And yeah, that's a big expanded photograph. These are really small. Even in O-scale, they're small. And I like, cut these away one at a time. Number 15 scalpel, preferably with a reasonably sharp new blade. You want to cut them away at an angle, like a 45-degree angle. That gets you a beveled point. The beveled point helps it go into the hole and helps it from getting bent over. You can push it in without too much suffering, breaking it off, having it flow into space. And you don't have a lot of room to work. Remember, you're working around the grab iron. So you can only work from the top, but you can't work from the top because there's a grab iron above it as well. So you're kind of working at an awkward angle to put these in. And so you can get them in. They go in. There's your 20 thousandths wire from T-sheet, 23, number 73 bit for the wire, 72 for the nut bolt washers. They're a little smaller, but they drop in fairly easily if you have the right size hole. And that's really critical, getting the right size hole. Okay, so we don't have the roof on yet, actually. We just had the bracing for it. There's 2 laser cut pieces for the roof. These are the roof wall supports. They actually drop into these slots, which is really clever. I really like this idea. It's 2 pieces. You put them together, you got a slot. These pieces drop right in. They're positioned exactly where they belong, so you don't have to think about it. The thinking has been done for you. You can't get it wrong. You can't put them in upside down either. So this is great. You notice there's actually even little nail marks, rivet, whatever, steel, for this is a steel roof. So there's actually little marks in the roof beyond just your grab iron locations. This is all very nicely detailed for you. And once you drop it all into place, the only issue is you do have this groove on the top, but you're not going to see it once you put the roof walk on. It goes away. Now it's out of sight, out of mind. And if you're really good, you'll forget about it very, very quickly. You have to have a short memory about this. Once you put this on, yes, that all disappeared. It didn't exist, didn't happen, not a problem. So again, more grab irons, more nut bolt washers. Not too hard to do, but they get a little tedious after a while. I think I did one side and put it down and said, I got to take a break. You can only look at so many holes and putting nut bolt washer castings in before you just have to get up and take a walk. Stirrup steps. Yeah, they're waiting patiently. There are 6 of them, 4 corners and the doors, below the doors. Very easy to put in. You've got the roof walk on. We got some of the brake wheel, and the roof walks, just drop a glue on every support, put it in place, line it up with the etched holes, laser cut holes. You're done. Okay, back to the brake end. And this is why you couldn't put a grab iron right in that location. This piece actually goes there. You got to find all these pieces in your sprue of parts. I know I said this at least once in the past, but early on, that sprue of all those brake parts, there are parts on there you will not use. Do not get into a panic over having parts that you didn't use and don't know where they go, because they don't go anywhere. They don't belong in this car. There will be extra stuff. And you use the parts that you need, and the rest of them, well, if you can use them for something else, put them in your scrap drawer. Otherwise, don't worry about them. So you got to drill these little pieces out. This one's split. I welded it back together with some methylene chloride, but that's 20 thousandths wire again, I guess. And the relief valve, well, that was a lot of fun trying to drill for a hole, but it did drill. And a little hole at the bottom of this. So you just thread this through, glue it all in place, preferably straight up and down if you can. And you've got the end done. Got to be careful with a plastic wheel. They can be brittle. they can break off. I usually prefer to use a brass one if I have one. And I wouldn't hesitate to suggest substituting brass for that because they tend to break on the spokes. So you see I moved the stirrup steps over. They just had to be done. Added a doorknob because there's no door, the door's got to open somehow. And that's just a pin. That's a regular sewing pin. Just drill a hole, drop the pin right through the hole, stop it, put a drop of CA on it, push it in a little bit further. It's not going anywhere. Now people can get in and out. Added the chimney, smoke jack. That's 3D printed. So you got to be a little careful not to break it. It's a little brittle and it's very slippery. It's not got a lot of ridges on it that you can grab like the normal 3D printing. I'm not sure what type of material it is, but it fits right through the hole perfectly. A little bit of CA, it stops and stays right where you put it. And last but not least, more fun. Gosh, this was the real fun part. The lift levers. Okay, this end's pretty easy. Little glue, you drop it in place. Air hose, casting, a little bit of glue, drops in place. Same story with this one. This one you got to wrap around everything. And it's not as easy as it may seem. And these actually lift. They're not glued in place. They actually will move up and down. You thread them through these hinges, pivots. And if you're careful, they're still operational if you want them to be. This actually I should have pushed it over another ½ inch. Well, maybe not. It's right where it belongs, give or take a little bit. So that takes care of the ends. Another doorknob, another pin. No one will ever miss them. Buy a bunch of pins at the Notions counter at the grocery store. And that's where we'll stop for this week because we got to gather our wits because next week we're going to learn how to spell in the, because I forgot how to spell that properly and I had an extra P in painting. I must have fat fingers again. We'll try to paint this without messing too much up, maybe stain some things, do some lettering, decaling, and maybe start on weathering if I actually have the time to actually do it. Between now and next week, I don't have a lot of free time. And the following week, I don't have any free time at all. So we'll figure out how to do it and I'll stop here. So now's the time when the interrogation starts. I'm ready, bring it on.
Got a question for you.
There we go.
The hand grabs and the nut bolt washers.
Yeah.
You put the hand grabs on first. I
did. Yeah, you could do that the other way around if you were thinking about it. But the instructions actually have it going in that order.
And it's easier to do it that way.
I'm not convinced of that. I don't know. I didn't try. I actually had the thought while I was talking that I would do a row of nut bolt washers, put a grab iron in, go down to the next one, put the nut bolt washers in and put the grab iron in and work my way down alternating. It seemed like it might work for physical access, but it might lead to bouts of insanity, going back and forth between them and different pliers and hemostats and stuff, but it may be less boring too at the end, and you might actually sit down and do the whole car if you maintain focus. I think it's possible.
Did this car have the location of the holes for the nut bolts and the grab irons? Yeah,
they're all there.
So all you have to do is just follow those holes and you don't have to worry about it. Drill the holes where they say.
Yeah, all the thinking is done for you. You follow the dimples. You can actually feel them with your drill in your hand. There's a small depression. It's not just a mark. It's actually a small depression where the laser just zapped it a little bit. Your pin drops right in and off you go.
Well, Martin, thank you so very much. Look forward to next week.